Welcome to Key Conversations, where you get to connect with the best of the music business, unlocking the secrets to exploding your music career, presented by In the Key of Success. I'm your host, Cheryl B. Engelhardt. The conversations you're about to hear are between our special guest and participants of my MX4 course, the Marketing and Branding, Money-Making, Mentorship Mastermind for Musicians. They are singers, songwriters, composers, producers, and artists just like you, asking their burning questions of our experts while transforming their careers over 6 weeks. If you think this could be you, check out mx4course.com to schedule a free half-hour coaching call with me to see if we'd be a good fit. So, let's get started. Welcome, Jaime Campbell, to our MX4 course. You are now looking at Jenna and Brad, and we've got Megan on the phone here. Jaime Campbell is the owner and founder of Tier 1 Services. Is that correct? Is that the correct term, Jaime?
Co-owner and co-founder, but yes.
Co-owner and co-founder, Tier 1 Services, a financial company, and they are so much more than financial advisors. They really are. And Jaime is a personal long-term friend, and I have worked with her on my Quickbooks and my financial planning on all sorts of different levels, from personal to business, and she's just an amazing resource, and we're super lucky to have her. So Jaime, thank you so much for, I know you just put your 2-year-old to bed and you're fitting us into your busy schedule. So this week we had a really big discussion in our course about finances, how to really manage your money, and really getting that managing money it's not just about making it and spending it, but really knowing what you have. And the difference between people who are wealthy and people who are trying to be wealthy is that they put the time and they are willing to manage their money. So that was a really big thing that we started to wrap our heads around. And as musicians, we also started looking at all the different ways that you can make income. And there are literally dozens and dozens and dozens of ways: passive income, active income, services, selling things, products, experiences. There's a whole spectrum of things that we sell as well. So it's just been like a money week. So this is perfect timing, and thank you. So I just wanted to start off, give you a couple minutes to sort of say how you got to Tier 1 Services, how you got to starting this company. What are some of the highlights of your career so far that got you to where you are now, and why do you like working? I know you work with a lot of independent small companies, entrepreneurs, and why are you on this call essentially, and how'd you get here?
All right. Well, thank you for the great intro, Cheryl, and it's such an honor to be here with everyone. To summarize my pre-Tier 1 Services life, I would say that I've always had a special feeling about math and music, and a special, I don't know, if you want to call it gift, you can call it gift, but if it started off as a gift, I worked hard at cultivating both of them, but I could never do them both at the same time. So from kindergarten through 5th grade, I focused on music, and I had piano lessons, and I got a piano when I was 6 with a big red velvet bow that I still have. And then, one day I came home from school in 5th grade, and my mom said, "Maybe, do you think math is kind of too easy?" And I didn't really think anything of it, but I could tell that she wanted me to say yes, so I did. And I don't know, I thought everybody always got 100% on all their homework assignments and tests. So one thing led to another. She advocated for me, and I got into a very special math program that was only offered in 2 cities in the entire country. Long story short, I was doing college math in 6th grade, and I did nothing but math until 9th grade, at which point my mom was threatening to sell my piano if I didn't start playing it again. So I switched back over to music, and I got my degree in music education, and I was a professional music educator and performer for a number of years. But I really missed math. So I went back to school, I got my MBA, and in professional accounting. Never really saw myself as a business person, and this really parlayed into my current experience with entrepreneurs. I never saw myself as a business person. I never saw myself as one of those MBA types, but I couldn't figure out another way to get a degree in accounting, which is what I really wanted. I really wanted to be in a quiet place for many, many years alone with numbers. That was a long time ago. And also I wanted to stop giving permission to go to the bathroom. That was another career highlight. So this MBA in professional accounting kind of forced me into it, because I didn't have a way of being a business person, but I couldn't figure out another way to get an accounting degree. None of the schools would let me in for their bachelor's program because I already had a degree, but I couldn't get into the master's of accountancy program because I didn't have an undergrad in accounting. So this special program that Rutgers was offering for, you could get an MBA in professional accounting for people who had degrees and backgrounds in other fields, non-related fields. And I was like, hello, sign me up. So I went to go work for a CPA firm, which I was with one firm for about 10 years. And that's where I really got how numbers tell a story of our lives. And that became, my background in tax and financial statement preparation and auditing and accounting information systems, that combined with my coaching training, and I really got that the numbers tell the story of the reality that we create. And in a career or in a business, it's nearly impossible to create a future that you love without coming face to face with the reality of what you created and the reality of what works and what doesn't work. And for me, numbers are exactly what bridges the gap, what helps us to confront reality, the reality that we already created. And so when we create a future, we can decide, we can be empowered and say what works and what doesn't. I know what works and what doesn't because I've already been there and done that. But if you're not aware of the reality that shows up in the numbers, the future that you create is going to be a wild card just as much as your past, a wild card as to how workable it's going to be and how much it's really going to end up to be the future that you want. That's what keeps me rolling out of bed every day in Tier 1 services, is working closely with entrepreneurs to, first of all, help them confront the reality that's their numbers. And it's not just startups. I was talking today with the owner of a $2 million business, and there are things about his business that he doesn't know. And he knows the reason why he and I were talking is that he knows that numbers are the way to get there, because numbers are the reality that you can confront. So that's what I do in Tier 1 services, and that's why I'm here on this call, to present some ideas and some techniques for confronting those numbers and creating a musical future that works.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we've definitely gotten into like looking at what works and what doesn't. Do more of what works and less of what doesn't work, and just keep it black and I mean, at some level there's a black and whiteness of it. It's like, this is what so, and then we have our judgments. This is bad, this is good, it should be this, it should be that. But if you take all that out, it's like, we have this, we want this, so I think that's, you take it to a very like numerical place, and we're all results driven here. So this is perfect. Let's just start. We have a couple questions that I know are like burning questions, and then we'll come back to, I know you've got like a bunch of tips and ideas for this particular crowd of musicians, people creating their own careers. So, Megan, I know you're on the phone here. I know you've got some questions. So why don't you start with those?
Okay, great. My first question is, different years I've taken a tax write-off for the losses that I've had. I normally take the losses when I record a CD, because in those years I have the biggest losses. And it's my understanding that you can only claim a loss in your business for 7 years, and then they consider it a hobby, and you can't write it off after that. If I claim 1 year and then I don't claim the next, and then I claim the next year, is it 7 years total, or is it 7 consecutive years? What do they look at?
Great question, Megan. So first of all, there are a couple things here. I've never heard 7 in 10 years of doing tax prep. I've never heard the number 7 related to hobby. It's 3.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's 3. Okay.
That's
3, yeah. So and here's the deal. You must report income, but you're entitled to take deductions. So if you're earning any income whatsoever from your music career, we're assuming in this conversation that you're not a W-2 employee in this situation. You're a freelancer, or you've created a sole proprietorship, or you've created some kind of entity, or if you haven't created one, then by default you're running a sole proprietorship with your social security number as a tax ID. If you've taken no steps to officially register a business, you still have one. And if you have earned income, and if you receive that income, it needs to be reported to the IRS and to your state if you live in a state that has income taxes. You're entitled to take deductions. So here's the thing where the hobby comes in. If you have more deductions than you have expenses for 3 years in a row, the IRS starts to look a little askance. Is this really a business? Or is it a hobby? Never mind what's in your heart. We're talking about the IRS regulations, which I would assume are not in your heart. So they look for, yes, you can, quote unquote, still deduct expenses related to the trade or business in which you're engaged. You're entitled to do that, by the Internal Revenue Code. But in case of audit, if you don't have substantial evidence to show the IRS auditor that you're engaged in the trade or business, they might rule that it's a hobby, and you're still going to have to pay tax on your income, but you won't get any of those deductions. They might be disallowed, is the term. So some good evidence that you might want to collect along the way, advertising, business cards, you might get screenshots of what you're doing on social media to promote your business. So if you can collect evidence in real time as you go, then in case of audit, you'll have something to show the auditor, look, I know I have more income than expenses for all of these years, but it's an actual trade or business, and here's all the evidence I've collected in real time over all of these 20 years to show you I'm not giving up. It's a real business. And so that's the situation with hobby losses.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. I think my tax guy, and Jamie, I know we have opinions about my tax guy, told me 7 years, about 10 years ago. So who knows what that is, but that's the number that I had thrown out there. So that's probably, I think, Megan, where you got that from. But that's great. Like, that answers a lot of stuff for me too. So thank you.
Sure.
I've got a couple emails as well from people that couldn't be on the call, questions. But Jenna, did you have any burning questions for Jamie?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to know how much, I guess, to save for retirement. I'm 29 and I'm in Canada, and I know that there's a tax break when you start putting money into a retirement plan. So I wanted to know what's a good amount to get started.
It's a great question. And first of all, I want to acknowledge you for asking these critical questions when you're 29 instead of when you're 59.
Yeah.
Because it makes a huge difference. The number depends on your situation. And to step through a process, I would actually seek out a financial advisor, someone with a designation called CFP, Certified Financial Planner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the name of the designation in Canada, but if you can find out the Canadian equivalent, it might be the same, or if you could find a U.S. provider. If you want to email me, I can give you the names of some providers.
Sure.
But you're right. It's a process to follow, and there is some judgment involved, but you can make a calculation, which essentially boils down to what you might think logically anyway. When do I think I'm going to stop earning? How long do I think I'm going to live after that? Right? Which makes this less than black and white, but you can get some numbers like, gee, I'm going to plan to live until I'm 100 or 90 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And how much do I think I'm going to need to live on per year for the lifestyle that I want to live? Then there's one final step, and the calculation becomes a little trickier, but you can there's a function in Excel that you can use to kind of figure it out, like how much would you have to put away every year in order to save up for that.
Mm-hmm.
The function in Excel is called present value. So if you calculate how much I'm going to, if I want a lump sum or so when I'm 65 or 75 or 80, if I'm going to work until then, you can kind of back it out and say, well, if I want to have that sitting down when I'm 65 years old, I need to put away X per year, assuming then you have to make up an interest rate. So there's a little bit of judgment here. I could put in 3% or 8%. It depends on how conservative or aggressive you want to be. Mm-hmm. What you're probably going to learn, though, is a couple things. One, the 401k is not the be-all, end-all of existence. It was created to be a supplement to retirement. But our country, and I don't know about Canada, but I know in the U.S., people have begun to look at their 401ks as the retirement plan. But the way these funds are invested, that's not really what it's designed for. And so the things that you've learned from Cheryl about multiple income streams and passive revenues, things that are beyond your hourly sweat, Those are the things that are going to most enhance your retirement. If you build a business that's beyond yourself and beyond your personality and beyond your abilities, and if you're able to sell that business, that's one way to create a nice boost in your retirement. Yeah, things that disconnect your earnings from your number of heartbeats per minute. You know what I mean? The phrase "earn money while you sleep," it's real. I mean, that's when people buy your books online, when people buy instruments that you make after you've made them, and you've literally or metaphorically gone to bed, and people are buying them. When people are downloading your music, those are passive revenue streams that disconnect your hourly life from your hourly earning, and those types of things, building value in a business. Those are the types of things that are going to get you there. And your typical retirement plan should only really be a supplement.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
You're welcome.
Brad, what do you got for any questions? And I know you all might have like 2 or 3, so we'll just keep going around in circles and leave a little bit of Jamie. We'll make sure we get back to you the last 15 minutes for your golden tips and whatnot. So let's take it to Brad. Do you have any questions for Jamie?
Nothing that I came in with in advance. I just wanted to say that what you just said there about 401ks was great. I mean, you want to take the money you earn. I have a guy that I get advice from, and he says you take the money you earn and use it to buy assets that generate income.
Yes.
And that way you're always generating income and you never stop earning.
Yes.
So you can stop working, but you don't stop earning.
Yes, exactly. I read in a book that when you consider every dollar that you own to be a little soldier for you, whose sole job is to go out and get more dollars, you start making different decisions when you see it that way.
That's awesome. I love that. That's great.
So how does your firm, you don't do financial planning yourself, or?
We don't do financial planning in the retirement sense of the word. For that, we make referrals to one of our friends in our network. But what we do primarily focuses on financial strategy and business intelligence. So we help people and coaching and entrepreneurship development if that's needed. But we help people confront the reality of the decisions that they've made. For example, instead of seeing total income, we might say, all right, well, let's break it down. Total income by blank. Let's make sure you have an accounting system that gives you that information. Total income by customer. Total income by channel, Amazon versus iTunes, for example. Total income by referral source. You met someone who introduced you to a customer, to a student, to a client, depending on how you parlay your musical abilities into a money-making venture. Total income by marketing campaign. So, done right, you can slice and dice income a number of ways, and most people don't know that something as simple as Excel or QuickBooks can give you that information if it's set up correctly. And we also do financial strategy, things like, let's look at your long-term goals. What lifestyle do you want, and is what you're doing now going to provide you with that? If not, let's look at some other strategies, like what you said, purchasing assets. Maybe you want to create a business and invest your money in the business that you're creating. Build a business that's beyond yourself and your own charisma, your own abilities, and sell it. There's a technique for doing that, and that's one of many strategies. Build the strategies of creating multiple revenue streams, especially passive ones. Those are strategic conversations that we have with clients, and we help distinguish what these techniques are. If you want to pre-order, if you're going to offer, I have this great project that I want to do, and how do I finance it? You offer it out as a pre-order. That's a great financial strategy. A lot of people don't think, well, you might think to buy it as a consumer. Wow, this movie's coming out. In 3 months, I have to get it on day one. I have to get it when it comes out. I'm going to buy it 3 months ahead of time. Well, wouldn't you like to be on the selling side of that transaction? So we work with people strategically to help them get to where they want to go by offering them financial techniques, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to read you a question I got from Lauren, who couldn't be on the call today, but she's going to listen to this, watch the video back tomorrow when she's available. The first question she has, at what point should I begin having people who work for me, for example, interns, sign a 1099 form for tax purposes? I've heard it's only necessary if they're paid a certain amount of money in a given year. There you go.
Super question. So first of all, the amount is $600. And I love to give a black and white answer for once, since everything's so, well, it depends on your situation. Now, $600.
Got it.
If someone gets paid at least $600, and now we're making a big assumption here. And I'm going to clarify that. We're assuming that someone actually is an independent contractor. This is a big deal. Knowing whether someone is an employee or an independent contractor is a very big deal, because I know nobody wants to be in the situation of being fined anyway or having unexpected taxes. But especially if you're really involved with your art, if you're really involved with your craft, the last thing you want to do is have to deal with government compliance matters. So get it right from the beginning. Someone is a W-2 employee or a 1099 independent contractor, not by virtue of your declaration as such. The IRS definition comes down to one word, and that's control. If you are exercising significant control over the work that they do, they're going to deem that, upon audit, they're going to deem that that person was an employee and you owe Social Security taxes, the FICA and Medicare, and any unemployment taxes that may be due to the federal government and or the state if there's a state audit, and not to mention penalties and fees unless you can talk them out of that. So that's a pretty big deal. And I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but you can feel free to message me privately if you would like to know more. But if you're exercising significant control over their activities, if they have to report to you, I'm not going to be in today because I'm sick, anything like that, then chances are they're not actually an independent contractor. But if they actually are, if you're more or less saying, this is the end result that I need, go to it, I'll see you later.
Like a drummer you're hiring to play on some
really
tracks, or a graphic designer for a project.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they obviously need to show up on time for a gig, but that doesn't mean that you're exercising control over their activities.
Right.
You're not going to give somebody training in drumming. They have to come with their materials. They have to come with their knowledge, and you're not going to tell them how to do their job. You're not going to tell them how to play it. And giving a little artistic direction doesn't count. So yeah, if you're doing a gig and you're going to subcontract out, if you're going to have a drummer join you for a gig, fine. If they're an independent contractor, fine. But even so, don't confuse control with someone being a temporary worker. So if you still exercise a great deal of control over the job relationship, it can still be deemed a W-2 employee, just a temporary worker. But assuming that someone is actually, in fact, an independent contractor, the form that you must have on hand is called a W-9. You can get it for free from irs.gov. And what I strongly recommend is that as soon as you have a contract with someone, and I do recommend that you have a written contract, but even if you don't, before any services are provided and before any funds are paid, before both of those, have someone fill out and sign a Form W-9, have it on file. You never have to give that form to anyone. But in case you're audited, it'll save you a lot of agita, and it'll save you possible fines and penalties up to, or not even up to, but 28% of what you paid out, the IRS might want, depending on your situation. So, because if they refuse to give you a W-9, you're actually supposed to send in 28% of their earnings. Instead of paying it out to them, you have to send it into the IRS. So have them sign a W-9 completely with their Social Security number, or if they have a business, their tax ID. Sign it, have their address on it, keep it on file, and do prepare 1099 forms in January of the following year.
Great. Awesome. Brad, I see a hand.
Yeah, I just had a real quick question to kind of follow up on that. So you have to have an independent contractor agreement, and then you can exercise control and, manage them and all that stuff.
No. The word control is associated with employee. if you want someone to be an independent contractor, you have to give up. You have to not exercise a great deal of control, or else the government could come in and say, well, you exercise a lot of control. This person is really an employee, and I don't care what your agreement says. The person is acting like an employee. You're acting like an employer. So here's your bill. You have to send all these funds into the Social Security Administration and such.
Lovely. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
All right, we're going to stop there today. Continue listening next week. We're going to keep talking with Jaime about all things finance. Woo! Please don't forget to rate and comment on iTunes and Stitcher Radio if you like this podcast. It's the best way to keep it going, get more subscribers, and continue to share this awesome information with the indie music community. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. All of the music on this podcast has been created by yours truly. The theme song is called Inevitably, written with Cameron Ernst and produced by Joey Ock. You can find all the songs, plus more information on my music career at CherylBE.com. If you want to be one of the reasons I can keep this podcast and my blog Living on Gigging going, then head to patreon.com/CBEmusic. There, you can contribute $1, $2, $5 for the creation of each of these free musician resources. Together, we can keep them coming and inspire other creative people to do what they love and do it well. Again, that's patreon.com/CBEmusic. Key Conversations is sponsored in part by Bandzoogle. They make it easy to build a beautiful website for your music. Their step-by-step system gets you online in minutes, and you can choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes and customize them with their easy point-and-click editor. All the features you could possibly imagine for a professional website are built in. So, because you are a Key Conversations podcast listener, you get a special 3-month free trial just for you. Go to www.inthekeyofsuccess.com/resources and click on the Bandzoogle logo to access your free extended trial.